What's up, everybody? It's Justin. Happy AMA Day. Happy Wednesday. Double check. Make sure I'm live. Let's see. Hold on. Guys, all right. This episode's kind of crazy because I just decided with maybe 10 minutes before I started that I was going to cut out a bunch and put in a bunch of new stuff. And this one might be a little bit jumbled. Also, real quick, I just got to get close up on you and plug you in. Let's see here. I'm checking. Hold on. Okay, it says live. That's good news. I gotta plug this in because my phone's gonna die. Boop. Okay, much better. This way I won't die midstream. Make sure. Cool. It's up. Lights look all right, right? You can see the board. You can see all the things, right? A little shaky. Okay, awesome. What's up, everybody? Sorry I'm a couple minutes late. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to fit all the stuff I have. I have way more notes than I could fit in this, and I was talking about ATP and talking about the efficiency of burning fat for fuel over the not so efficient method of burning carbohydrates for fuel and fat adaptation and ketosis and all these things and blah, 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 right? But I've talked about all those things a million times. So I just want to simplify this, break it down into the primary objectives of what I want to get across with this AMA number 33. Holy crap. I had to go to clovis.store/AMA and look and see what the last blog post I did was because I can't keep track of these numbers. I thought it was still 32. So we're on AMA number 33, which is crazy. And I'm calling this one How Weight Loss Ruined Everything. Literally, how weight loss ruined everything. I could not feel more strongly about that term, weight loss, and how it's literally ruined health in America straight up. So we're gonna talk about that. First things first, for those of you that don't know, this is an Ask Me Anything. Ask Me Anything is an AMA. Number 33, I get questions from the Clovis Academy. So if you go to facebook.com/groups/Clovis Academy, you can check out the free private Facebook group that is a non-paid membership platform. You can get in there, no problem. I get a lot of questions from there. Then I have the paid membership groups. That's I Am Clovis and Clovis Kids, which also come with corresponding membership websites. You get full-blown access to a website with login, membership portal, fancy pants stuff, right? That is I Am Clovis, and we have Clovis Kids as well. So 2 different membership platforms there. But I take questions from people throughout the week, and these conversations happen in these groups organically, natural engagement. We start talking about things, or sometimes I just talk about shit that I want to talk about. And tonight, I kind of want to talk about this one because why? I'm really bored with weight loss, everybody. Really bored. And I know that that is not fair, and there's an epidemic of obesity in this country, and we need to focus on weight loss and all those things. But I don't like how weight loss is the only sole factor when it comes to overall health, right? It's like last week when we talked about life after success. What happens after you reach your weight loss goal? In my opinion, that's where life and your journey begins. So we're gonna talk about this tonight, how to take the focus away from that. Get rid of your scales, all that nonsense. We're gonna move on from these things. We're gonna evolve, expand our way of thinking to think about health, right? What this means for thin people. There are a lot of people out there who are genetically lean that are still metabolically broken, and they don't know it because they don't have the outward appearance of an internally sick individual. That's huge, 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 huge. We're gonna talk about some crazy statistics too in that realm, all right? So let's get started here. If I can find my cursor, which always happens when I do this split screen thing. Just making sure this looks pretty good, not too bright today. We got a bunch of people in the room. That's awesome. All right, so let's just jump in. Ask Me Anything number 33, how weight loss ruined everything. So today I'm talking about how weight loss ruined everything. And what do I mean by that? What I'm talking about is America's obsession with the scale and overall body weight. So think about it. Every single store you go into today in 2018 is gonna have magazine racks. Every single magazine rack that you see that's going to be a celebrity with no shirt on and really nice abs, whether a guy or a girl, that magazine is going to claim that inside those pages it has all of the secrets to successful weight loss. How to lose the most weight in the shortest period of time, right? That's what they are always talking about in these magazines still to this day in 2018, right? So every single one of you, at one point or another, has measured the success of whatever program or diet trick or fad you've tried. You've measured your success based on the amount of weight that you've lost. So what that means for me with Clovis, the odds that I get a client coming to me that does not want to lose weight, those odds are slim to none. Almost never. It almost never happens, right? So how has weight loss been literally the number one priority, the number one health goal for the entire country for 4 decades, and somehow our health as a nation has steadily declined over that same period? So let's ask the question, could it be that the focus on weight is actually the thing that is causing the decline in health? Could that be our singular blinders on focus on just overall body weight? And my answer to that question is yes, unequivocally, yes, absolutely. That's playing a giant role in the health crisis in America. Tonight we're going to explore what our obsession with overall body weight has done for us, and I will detail why Clovis is absolutely critical for human beings, including those of you who are genetically lean, thin people, small people, don't have any weight to lose. This is still critical for you. Why? Because you're a human being, and biochemistry is biochemistry, right? We're gonna jump into that. So real quick, if you don't know who I am, my name is Justin Nault. I'm a certified nutritional therapist. I'm a specialist in sports nutrition. I'm a certified specialist in fitness nutrition as well. Too many credentials, this takes too much time. I am also the founder of Clovis. I'm the founder and CEO of Clovis. I invented the Perfect Paleo Powder, a line of paleo-friendly and ketogenic-friendly nutritional formulas, protein powders / green superfoods / probiotics / prebiotics / everything you could ever need in a powder. Awesome. Perfect paleo powder, right? Now I transform people's lives. I've made custom nutrition plans for well over 500 people at this point, and I get incredible transformations in people, 10 pounds, 40 pounds, 100 pounds, 60 pounds, everything in between. That's what I do. I'm trying to transform lives, trying to transform your life right now, hopefully by giving you some information that you didn't have prior to this. If you want to know what else I have to talk about, go to clovis.store/AMA. It's all uppercase. I don't know why. Clovis.store/AMA. You can see all the previous Ask Me Anythings that I've done. I've covered everything from sugar to soda to energy drinks to lifting weights to running to ketosis to literally everything. I can't think of a single topic that's not on there. So go check that out. It's literally like a masterclass in all things health and wellness. So let's get started. Section 1. Ask Me Anything number 33. How weight loss ruined everything. What our obsession with weight loss has given us. Now, I'm gonna write this down, right? Weight. Why do we always talk about weight? Why? It doesn't tell us shit. It tells us nothing, literally, okay? So with the obsession of weight loss, we just need to lose weight. That's the primary goal, right? Weigh less. So that brought on the rise of counting calories and, of course, our good friend, the low-fat movement, avoiding fat, right? Now, I'm not going to go deep into this because, like I said, clovis.store/AMA, I've gone over this in almost every episode I've done, ad nauseum, counting calories in versus calories out, eating fat is good for you, blah, blah, blah. We know that calories in, calories out doesn't tell the whole story because of hormones. We did a whole episode on hormones, right? We know that the low-fat, high-carb movement was basically genocide for the country. It's like the worst thing we've ever done, right? We know that the nation as a whole has gotten sicker since the introduction of the food pyramid. And what we have to show for it is a nation where 70% of adults are overweight. 70% of adults are overweight. 1/3 are obese. 1/3 of adults are obese, right? More than 30% of adults have type 2 diabetes. 30% have type 2 diabetes. This right here, guys, this is about 10% of the population. 10% of the population has type 2 diabetes? Are you kidding me? Diabetes is the 7th leading cause of death in US. Direct deaths from diabetes, 7th leading cause of death in the United States. And the medical community's advice is you need to lose weight, right? Weight. You need to lose weight, and you need to lose that weight by eating less. Counting calories, eating less, right? That has failed every single time for over 40 years now. So how is this still happening? And this is where I decided to make the shift from super sciencey talk into real talk. What this is, and this episode may be offensive, sorry. What this is herd mentality. We are dealing with herd mentality. Let's define herd mentality. How people can be influenced by their peers to adopt certain behaviors on an emotional rather than rational basis. Okay? How people can be influenced by their peers to adopt certain behaviors on an emotional rather than rational basis. This is what herd mentality is. This is where weight loss comes from. It is simply herd mentality. So let's start with every single diet plan ever, including all the 30-day challenges, and none of them are safe from my scrutiny here. Anything that is a challenge, anything that has a time limit on it, anything that says this much results in this many days, right? This is where you get quotes and phrases like this. Quote, "What was your total weight loss? 15 pounds? Holy smokes, congratulations, here's your celebratory cheesecake, you've earned it." Back on the roller coaster, back on the yo-yo diet, right? Celebrations for fitness endeavors, right? Quote, "You ran your first 5K, congratulations, here's your celebratory 40-ounce beer at the finish line, you've earned it," right? Another quote, "You're 3 months into keto and you've lost 30 pounds? Hooray! Maybe it's time to start doing carbohydrate refeed days. Here's 5 Krispy Kreme donuts for breakfast." Or people saying things like, "I just went on vacation and I gained 5 pounds. It's okay, I'll get back on track on Monday." And they're usually saying that shit on Tuesday afternoon. So Wednesday to Sunday, it's like, whatever, I'll start back over on Monday. Somehow Monday is this magical day that everyone's obsessed with. Everything must start on a Monday. It's ridiculous. If you fall off the wagon on Tuesday, start on Tuesday night. What's your problem, right? So we'll get back on track on Monday, right? It's ridiculous. It's actually insanity. It is the behavior of crazy people. And this is what the herd mentality does. Everyone's doing the same thing over and over and over, right? Like lemmings. Now, as I stand here talking about it, the vast majority of you have been guilty of these things at one time or another in your life, without a doubt. I have been guilty of these things at one time or another throughout my life, without a doubt. So, how is it that all of us at one point or another have fallen into this same trap? And it's the herd mentality, plain and simple. So the only measure of health in the United States right now is weight and weight loss. How much weight can we go down? Weight and weight loss, right? And it's understandable when 70% of your population is overweight that the goal of weight loss seems like a really good goal. Because obesity and this problem with people being overweight is an absolute epidemic. It's a full-blown healthcare crisis. It's bankrupting the nation, right? But here is the issue. When weight loss becomes the only goal, when weight loss is the only goal instead of overall health, then what happens, right? When weight loss is the only goal, that is how things like HCG diets and the banana diet and whatever the hell else become popular, because the conversations go like this, quote, right? "Mr. Smarty Pants Doctor, did you just say I could lose weight and all I have to do is restrict my food to 500 calories a day and stick needles in my ass with artificial hormones? Sign me up. I'm all about the weight loss," right? That's how this stuff happens. I mean, there comes a point when you really have to look at this, the advice that people are taking, the things that people are doing for that all-powerful goal of weight loss. There comes a point where you look at it and you go, "Oh, this is just natural selection. Let those people keep doing that nonsense," right? It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy that people are following these things. And I apologize if any of this is offensive. I know most of you personally at this level, most of the people watching, I know the things you've experimented with. I know the things I've done to my body. I'm gonna talk about that in a little bit. Things I was doing with a bonehead personal trainer who had no fucking idea what he was doing, right? So I've been through this stuff as well. So the reason I wanna talk about herd mentality is a sobering example of, if you look at horrific things that have happened in human history, right? I think the obesity epidemic is a horrific thing. I think the adoption of the food pyramid is a horrific thing. I think it has killed more people than just about anything that has happened throughout human history, right? It's that bad. So if you look at something horrible, right? If you look at something like the Holocaust, do you think that the millions of people, that insanely large number of Germans who were involved in that, do you think they were all born monsters? Or do you think it's that they were indoctrinated, they were taught things since they were young, they were brainwashed slowly over time, they were manipulated until their sense of reality actually changed? Hitler, of course, a monster. But the millions of people who fought his fight for him and were convinced by him, that's brainwashing, manipulation, it's herd mentality. You're doing what everyone else is doing. Oh shit, oh damn, the whole country's doing this? Okay, yeah, I'm in, don't kill me. You know, it's this herd mentality thing, and that's what we're dealing with this weight loss thing. And this is the reason why I go nuts, and I always talk about kids and Clovis kids. This is why Clovis Kids is so big, right? And I want to talk about this indoctrination thing. So what your kids learn from a very young age will dictate the rest of their lives the same way that happened to you. There's almost nothing I love more than calling parents out on their enabling bullshit. Right? So they'll say things like, my kids would be super healthy if I could just get them to stop eating Fruit Loops. They just love those Fruit Loops. And I chime in and I say something like, stop buying that shit and bringing it into the house. Period. Problem solved, right? And they don't like that answer. They really don't like that answer, obviously, because it's a hard answer to take when you say, okay, wow, I've been enabling and I just got called on it, right? Or my favorite argument against Clovis Kids is, sure, I can feed the kids well at home, but all of society is against me. They go out in the real world and every single parent, every single grown-up wants to give my kids sugar, right? So this is the point where parents throw their hands up and go, I'm just gonna feed them well at home. People are gonna ruin it when they get out in the real world, right? They throw their hands up. Throwing your hands up because the rest of society does something is inexcusable behavior, in my opinion. I don't see it that way, right? So from the moment you were a little boy or a little girl, you saw mommy trying to squeeze into a dress. Honey, can you please come zip me up? Zip me up. Oh God, okay, zip me up, right? You see that. You see mom on the scale every morning, wakes up on the scale, usually has a sad look on her face. Oh, I'm weighing myself every day. Or you see your doctor telling your dad to stop eating red meat and potatoes because he's got a big beach ball beer belly, right? So we have decades of brainwashing under our belt that skinny equals healthy. We think that skinny equals healthy and that you must lose weight to be healthy, and it is complete horseshit. Complete horseshit, and it pisses me off. I'm a little riled up on this one. I'm gonna try to smile more or something, because this shit drives me crazy. I cannot believe that we still judge health based on size. It's absolute absurdity, right? So in my company, let's say, in Clovis, I'm not gonna call it a practice, not a practice, I do nutrition consulting, right? I'm a consultant. So in my consulting firm, my consultancy, let's call it, right, where I give people general nutrition advice, unless I'm dealing with a morbidly obese individual, which is most often the case, unfortunately, but unless I'm dealing with a morbidly obese individual, I almost don't care at all about total body weight. But I always care about body composition, right? Body composition, fat versus muscle, also known as fat versus lean mass. Anything that's not fat in the body is considered lean mass, right? Fat versus lean mass. So let's just talk about this. I have about 1,200 members in the Clovis Academy, right? If I were to get on the Clovis Academy and have all 1,200 people live right now and said, what's your body weight? Easily over 99% of those 1,200 people would know off the top of their heads, my body weight is X, right? If I ask that same 1,200 people, what is your body fat percentage? Easily less than 1% of them would know off the top of their heads, even though every custom plan I ever do, I tell people in the plan to get an accurate body composition reading. And I think people just are too lazy to do it, or they think it's not that important, or what, right? But most people do not know their body composition. Now, let me point that out to you. Let me point out what this means. It means that almost no one is putting value on a number that may be the single most important marker for overall health for all humans. Literally that important. And nobody knows it. Because of the herd mentality, we all gotta know our weight. We gotta know our weight, right? My mainstream doctor's never taken my body composition, so I don't care about it. Doesn't happen at my general checkup. Must not be important, right? It's insane. So with me, I almost don't let my clients, or don't, not let, but I don't advise my clients to pursue any other health goals, any other fitness endeavors, muscle gain, CrossFit, anything. I tell them not to pursue anything until we get a handle on their body fat percentage, their body composition. It is a risk factor for just about every single metabolic disease in Western society, which, by the way, accounts for about 97% of all Western disease as a whole. Only 3% of our diseases over here are genetic, right? So, like I talked about in the Life After Success episode last week, we talked about life after success, life after fat loss, right? Proper health is simply the foundation for the rest of your life, your future happiness, and your ultimate fulfillment as a human being, right? We just need to get it out of the way. Once we're done with it, then we move on, right? So what should everybody care about, including skinny people, genetically lean people? We are going to debunk the ways that we measure overall health, this nonsense, body weight, mainstream, all that. We're going to talk about that. We're going to debunk it. And we're going to talk about the things that you need to care about, particularly if you're a skinny person, because you have less warning signs than an obese individual. You have less reason to go get checked out for these things, right? And this is how we had no idea he was unhealthy and he dropped dead. This is how that happens. They only ever say he dropped dead when they're talking about skinny people, right? So we're gonna talk about all that. Let's take a little break because I'm going crazy here. Running. Comments, what do we got here? I'm almost at 120 days. I'll get my body fat update next week. Yes, exactly. But you're going to be disappointed that you didn't get it earlier on. And like I said, don't get me wrong. I didn't say nobody knows their body fat. I know that all of you who are proud of it are going to jump on and say, I know it, I know it, I know it, I know it. 1,200 people in the academy. I promise you it's less than 1% of you. I promise it is less than 1% of the entire academy that actually knows that number, right? Those of you that do know, I'm proud of you. That's awesome. You should know. It's very important. Kimberly knows hers. Mishka's gonna get hers. Kristen knows hers. Anna, what's up? Weight. Yeah, exactly. It should be the other way around. I don't know my body weight right now. I have no idea what my body weight is right now. I know that my body fat percentage is somewhere between 11 and 12%. Don't know, right? I know mine. Hi, whatever. Whoa, swear words. Profanity offends me, guys. What are you doing swear words in my comments? Or back up to what's up? Type 2 diabetes, preventable. Type 2 diabetes, reversible, right? Not saying I can do it. I would never make that claim. That's crazy. You can't say that kind of shit out loud. It's ridiculous. All right, we're up to hellos. Hello, everybody. Hi. We got a lot of viewers here. Awesome. No idea the number. Good. What's normal for women? You can't say that, right? Are you talking about body fat percentage, or are you talking about body weight? Because body weight, you really can't say. Body fat percentage, I'd like to see you somewhere between, 18 and 23. I'd probably be happy with. But again, there's a lot of variables, and we're going to get into them, okay? For Sam, I don't know what you're saying. Use your autocorrect. Come on now. All right, what else we got? Body fat percent. Yeah, you want to be probably somewhere between like 18 and 23, 24 maybe, but you want to be down there. And that's the other thing, is it depends on your goals, right? So now you can get my brain spinning, right? If like you have a particular goal in mind that I know that you want to get to, we're going to have to get you at least under 20, probably under 18 for what you're trying to do specifically. It's different. Individualized nutrition. That's what we work on, right? So your goals are going to be different from someone's goal who's just trying to not be obese. Those are two different things, right? Body comp results, don't care about their numbers. I'm guilty. I don't know mine. Yes, everyone should know theirs, 100%. So again, I really don't care about body weight, body fat percentage. It's different for men versus women. And then when you get into obviously underweight, which is generally thought of as under essential body fat. And like with women, if you're from like 13 to 16%, you start creeping up on essential body fat. If you guys saw the picture of PETA, my MMA fighter, she was probably way sub 10% body fat, which that's the thing, is if you have performance and athletic goals or physique goals, or you're doing a weight cut, then we kind of throw the health out the window. So there's healthy body composition for overall health and longevity. Like for men, it's actually 13 to 15% body fat if you want to live the longest. Like longevity wise, it's usually somewhere maybe 12 to 13, between 12 to 13 to 15% for males to live the longest. So the guy who's 4% body fat with shredded abs, he's gonna die before I die at 11% body fat. Generally speaking, none of these are rules, but there needs to be a certain percentage of body fat on your body for you to live an optimal life, a life of optimal health and longevity, right? So that's really important to keep in mind too, is these aesthetic goals, aesthetic and performance goals do not go hand in hand with longevity. Longevity and performance oftentimes do this. They butt heads violently. It's like endurance runners. Endurance runners have a much higher risk of cardiac episodes, heart attack, stroke, all these things. They have a much higher risk, right? You trade off human health for performance. It does this. It's really, really scary, right? Caliper each other. That's awesome. Started at 28. Looking forward to seeing 120 days progress week. Oh, that's awesome. I love that. I didn't know you had one at first. That's fantastic. Great. Started. All right, let's jump in. What time is it? So I'm going to start losing time. All right, so let's talk about the very well-known measure for mainstream medical of how to tell people if they're overweight. We've talked about this in AMAs before, but that is BMI, okay? So we'll talk BMI versus composition. BMI versus body composition. So let me give you an example. If you call me on the phone right now, if I take a call from one of you, right? And you say, Justin, there's a 6'2" man standing in front of me and he's over 260 pounds. And that's all you say? I have no idea if that man is obese or if that man is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I have no way of knowing. There's no way of me knowing when you say he's 6'2" and over 260 pounds, right? Now, if you say there's a man who's over 6'2" standing in front of me, he's over 260 pounds, and he's 4% body fat, I know exactly what I'm dealing with. Exactly what I'm dealing with right off the top of my head. I can picture it. It's an elite athlete, is a physical specimen who probably doesn't need my help with Clovis. Probably doesn't, right? If you replace that body fat percentage with 40, you say I have a 6'2" man who's over 260 pounds, his body fat percentage is 40%. That's someone who needs Clovis now. This dude needs emergency intervention in his life, right? And I know that right off the top of my head. If that guy's 40% body fat, I already know some of the stuff he's dealing with. He's probably dealing with at least the early stages of metabolic syndrome, maybe even the early stages of pre-diabetes, right? I can tell that just by this number. Not this number, this number. Because those two guys would have the same BMI. They'd have the same BMI. It's ridiculous, right? So if you replace the body composition for BMI, you get a much better marker, even though mainstream medical still goes through BMI, which teaches us nothing. And I'm going to show you another example of that too. So the other thing that I want to talk about that almost nobody talks about is waist, okay? I'm not going to write this off. Waist circumference, right? If we talk about waist circumference, again, if you take two individuals with the same BMI, right? Two individuals, same BMI, and measure their waist circumference, just above the hip bones, you will have a much more accurate assessment of overall health risk just from that alone. Even if you don't know body composition, if you just know BMI and waist circumference, you can tell a lot. You can tell the difference between those two people, right? So obesity measured by waist circumference for men is above about 37 inches, and for women it's about 32 inches, right? That's how I could pretty much tell off the top of my head if you're obese, if you tell me your waist circumference, right? Now, if you take two women with the same BMI, and one had a waist that was 26 inches and the other had a waist that was 35 inches, the woman with a 35-inch waist would be at a significantly higher risk of type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, overall risk of death, and just about any other disease you can think of. Yet, again, not a single time in my life have I ever gone to a mainstream doctor for a physical, general checkup, illness, whatever. I've never had my waist measured by a doctor, ever. I get my BMI taken every time. What's your height and weight? What's your height and weight? What's your height and weight, right? Which again, this is what leads into things like what I call the skinny fat epidemic. We have an epidemic of skinny fat on our hands. And we've all heard the term skinny fat. It's like a literal phenomenon now. There's tons of these people walking around, right? So you could have a 100-pound female who's literally over 30% body fat. Without a doubt, you could have that. 100 pounds, over 30% body fat. Anyone would say she's little. You could put her in a bikini and people would be like, she's a skinny girl, right? Tiny little thing with little to no muscle mass whatsoever and tons of body fat. This human being could be showing signs of pre-diabetes. metabolic syndrome, aka insulin resistance, prediabetes. They could be having all sorts of internal problems going on, especially inflammation. They could have leaky gut, inflammation, all these things, right? This is entirely plausible, and healthcare professionals see it each and every day. These thin people who are suffering tremendously. They feel terrible, they have no energy, all of these things, right? It's ridiculous. We generally call it skinny fat. It happens a lot in vegans and vegetarians. Believe it or not, I have converted an awful lot of vegans and vegetarians now, and it's fantastic. And most of the vegans that I've ever converted are very small people genetically, so they don't worry about things. They're just like, well, I'm little, I'm not fat, vegan works for me. And then all of a sudden they can't get out of bed, and you poke them on the arm and they have a bruise 3 weeks later because they're completely anemic, and they're pinching everything in their body going, I can grab hunks of fat even though I weigh 100 pounds. Like, what's the freaking deal? This is an obvious sign that they're not doing well internally. So I want you guys to understand that a person being small is not a biomarker for optimal human health. So, and now, for this section, the last nail in the coffin that we're going to do with the BMI is my personal confession. I have a confession, guys. I'm overweight. And I think I've said this in AMAs before when we've had brief conversations about BMI. So I want you to understand that you can make lifestyle changes via Clovis, right? That could have a dramatic impact on your body composition and not move the needle on BMI whatsoever. Literally not even move the needle on BMI. You could be improving composition every single day and your BMI doesn't move. So you could go back to your mainstream doctor and he could be like, we still really need to get this weight down. We should probably cut calories some more. We need to take care of this. We really need to get this down, right? So, for instance, throughout my health journey, when I started this thing, probably, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, my real health journey. My health journey started when I was 15, but I cared about calories, was addicted to ephedrine and caffeine and lifting weights and overtraining and all these things. When I really started to figure it out, when I first found paleo, let's say, probably 6 to 7 years ago, somewhere in there, right? I was about 28% body fat. And I told you at the beginning of this, I'm somewhere between 11 and 12% body fat right now. However, so that's a what? What is that? 17 to 18% drop in body fat, right? However, according to BMI, I am still an overweight individual. I am overweight. This guy, right? Not to mention, while I made that transformation of about 18% body fat, I'm 20 pounds lighter than I was 6 or 7 years ago, and I carry easily 10 to 15 pounds more muscle than I had when I was first starting my journey. And my waist circumference is well below 37 inches for an obese individual, right? Clearly, we've got some significant flaws in the current system. We need to measure things differently. And that's what brings me and Clovis and my entire protocol and my entire ethos for the company is this customized nutrition, right? It has to be customized. And this is where customized nutrition comes into play. If I have a male client come to me at 12% body fat, healthy body weight, healthy waist circumference, and this guy wants to gain 10 pounds of muscle, am I going to give him the same plan as the 100-pound female who's over 30% body fat with beginning stages of metabolic syndrome? Of course not. That would be silly. That would be idiotic. That would be like doing something like keto or Whole30 and saying, I'm gonna do what that guy does. I'm gonna eat what that guy does. And I'm gonna follow these blanket statements blindly, right? So it would just be silly. But this is exactly what about every single plan on earth is doing. All of them, blanket statements about this or that everyone is supposed to follow. Now, if there's an overall rule for everyone to follow, it's very simple. Eat whole, unprocessed foods, period. That's as simple as it gets. That's what humans have done throughout all of human history. Forget about the carb ratio, the protein ratio, the fat ratio. What did we eat? What did we evolve to eat? What is our natural food sources, right? Can anyone say paleo? Boom, it's right there. But, of course, with paleo, you run into the issues because people want to eat 12 bananas a day and a whole bag of cashews because they think those things are paleo, right? It gets ridiculous. But generally speaking, eat whole, unprocessed foods, right? Now, what sucks here is that alone is not enough when the damage is already done. When you all come to me The damage is already done. I've had people turn away from Clovis and say, I can't do this. I give them their plan, they say, I can't do this, right? Why? Because they don't want to track anything. They don't want to track macros. They don't want to look at calories whatsoever. They think that tracking their food will give them an unhealthy relationship with food. First things first, food is not your boyfriend, okay? Food is not your boyfriend. Stop with the relationship bullshit. It's an absurd term. We need to remove it. It should be abolished from the English vocabulary. You don't have a relationship with food. You don't, period. You have relationships with humans, okay? You have a relationship with your dog, sure, maybe. In his head, debatable, right? You don't have a relationship with food. Get that out of your head. Secondly, the only reason that we must track is because, like I said, the damage has already been done. We are in the unfortunate position of having to untangle the problems. I use that word untangle a lot because when you guys come to me, I literally have like a tangled up ball of yarn that I have to figure out which strand to pull and which strand to push, and I have to untangle all of the metabolic issues that have already happened, and there's nothing that we can do about that at that point. We must untangle, get to the root of these problems, right? We have to untangle it. So if you come to me with ideal body composition, right? If you're in great health, ideal body composition, waist circumference, perfect, all these things, you just might want a little more energy or whatever, I might not have you track anything. I probably won't have you track anything, right? But if we have to untangle, you're going to have to track to get a handle on this. Now, the reason why I say I might not have you track anything if you're in perfect health is because I want you guys to think about this. Think back for the millions of years that human beings have been a species eating food and surviving. Do you really think that tracking macros and calories has always been a part of life? Of course not. There was no carb manager app 100 years ago. There was no way to track this shit, right? It just wasn't a thing. We shouldn't have to do it. It's only because we deviated from the plan. The plan is eat these whole and processed foods that nature provides for us. Once we deviated from that plan, we changed everything. Then we went into metabolic issues that we have to untangle. You have to come find Justin. You have to find Clovis. I have to flip your world on its head. I have to undo the way you think about the food pyramid. I have to get you to throw your scale away and do all this crazy shit that you think I'm a whack job at first, and then you become evangelical about it, right? We have to undo all of that stuff first because we deviated from the plan, unfortunately. It wasn't our fault. We can talk about it. It's all misinformation, right? This has only been necessary since the rise of obesity, okay? It's the only time this has been necessary. So what's crazy is I was looking at scientific literature, like when they used to do studies on World War I soldiers or World War II soldiers, or a lot of times they would do these studies, food studies on soldiers because they had them in controlled environments and things like that, right? So you'll find these studies from like the 30s, 40s, 50s, where they're talking about like caloric deficits, and they're taking these guys from we're taking them from their normal caloric intake of 3,500 calories, and we have them on a severe caloric restriction. They're taking in 2,300 calories a day. And I'm reading these studies and I'm going, huh? Like somehow the caloric studies that we do now, it's like, oh, we're taking them from 1,800 calories to 1,200 calories, or a starvation diet is now less than 1,400 calories for women and 1,600 calories for men. It's like, people used to eat way more than we did. I mean, double what we're eating now. But thanks to the nutrient density of foods, there was less processed foods, all these things, they weren't dealing with obesity at the rates that we were, even though they were eating twice as much food. You can look at the literature and be like, studies from yesteryear are way different than studies of today. This is like the caloric intake was way higher, and they had like no obesity. This is crazy, right? It's absolutely crazy. It's so different from mainstream advice of today. And this is why I constantly say that fat loss is step one in your journey. It's just step one, okay? It's the foundational requirement that you must achieve before you can continue growing and achieve a truly fulfilling existence. I firmly believe that, okay? This is just step one, but we need to get it out of our heads that weight and weight loss is in any way associated with optimal health. They're just not the same thing. Is it a factor? Yes, of course. I'm not taking away from that. If you're obese, you need to lose weight. Yes, aka fat. You need to lose fat, right? So I just want you guys to understand this, that we need to stop measuring the success of protocols on pounds lost. We need to start looking at it from body composition, and that is it. That is the marker. I change body composition. I don't change body weight. Body weight changing, I improve your body composition, Your body weight changing is a consequence of that. It's a beneficial consequence. My primary goal was never to have you lose weight, ever. My primary goal was to change your body composition. Two different things, right? Let's take a little break, see how we're looking. Let's see. I'm gonna scroll up. Sorry guys, I was going back and forth. How dare you, Sam? We're very mad at you. Everyone's very angry. I'm just kidding. Do we need to measure waist and divide by? No, you don't worry about that. I hate BMI measurements. Yes, absolutely. Me either. They don't know jack. Right? Does waist measurement still work with diastasis? That's more a question for a doctor, honestly, than me. I'm sure that there's a factor here that's somewhat different. You would be much better off with the body composition reading. Absolutely. But even still, I don't know how diastasis impacts that. And the other thing is if you have somebody with, a tremendous amount of excess skin, let's say, calipers is probably not a way for them to get a good body fat percentage because most of the excess skin is excess proteins. It's just cellular tissue, right? So that's a really good question. That's a really good question. Yeah, I mean, you'd probably be better off with like a DEXA scan or a bod pod or something like that, getting a really solid body composition. The cheaper end of that would be like if a local gym has an in-body scan or something like that, getting some kind of scan done that doesn't necessarily have to do with the inches. Like I said, waist circumference is basically me just saying waist circumference when combined with BMI can tell you quite a bit. Now, if I have an accurate body composition test, I actually don't care about this number. So I just want to be clear about this. I'm just explaining that like everything in the mainstream community is measured by BMI, and there are things that are better because a little better than BMI is waist circumference. Waist circumference combined with BMI, a little better than BMI alone, and a little better than waist circumference alone. The holy grail for me, body composition. That's what I want to know. So if I can get an accurate body composition on you, then I actually don't really care about the waist circumference. But that's a really good question because it just impacts you so much. I'm not entirely sure. Let's explore that together. Let's talk more about that this week and see if we can come up with an answer for that. Yes, I have clients that are skinny with high triglycerides. Happens all the time. And we're gonna talk about why, because the reason for high triglycerides, there's a lot of reasons, but one of the biggest offenders is fructose, and we're gonna talk about that in a second. Happy ex-vegan. Yes, absolutely, that's great. What else we got here? That was me, a tangled mess. Yes, Cassie, and I promised you in the beginning, I said, we will untangle this. I'm telling you, we will untangle this. We'll get to the bottom of it, and we're starting to do that. That's amazing. Biofeedback, Mike, is a blanket term for a million things. It could be HRV, it could be Neuroptimal, it could be the Muse meditation headband, it could be heart rate analysis, it could be a sleep tracker. It's literally anything that gives you feedback from the body, usually some form of tech, but there are non-tech versions of biofeedback as well. So that's just a huge blanket term that you're using there. I don't trust myself yet not to track. Well, and that's the thing, Sam, again, you have specific goals. If you have specific goals, track, right? If I decide like I want to drop 2% body fat, I'm either going to fast. This is me personally. I'm not saying everybody do this. I'm saying me personally. If I want to just drop 2% body fat, I'm either going to have to, if I want to get sub 10%, I'll probably either do an extended fast combined with intermittent fasting and track macros. I'll do something like that because I like results quick. So I'll get results lightning speed. I know exactly how to do that, but that means I have to go back to tracking, right? So it depends on goals. If you're just looking for overall health, if you didn't want the goals that you want right now, you wouldn't necessarily have to track because, if you've been doing this for 3 months, you know what the hell to eat. You know what to eat. You don't necessarily need to track, right? Wearing clothes, I wore 15 pounds lighter. My body has changed so much. Yep, Mike, I just told you about biofeedback. Extra skin in the midsection is me as well. I clearly need an actual scan. Yes, you definitely need an actual scan, and you might want to look into extended fasting, really. Jackie, I can't remember how much you've experimented with it, but it could be helpful. I'm still scared I'm going to gain fat back if I don't track. That I want you to lose that. I want you to lose that idea, right? You probably have the approved foods list basically imprinted in your mind. So I don't want you to be afraid. I never want you to be afraid, right? You do have to get afraid if things slowly start creeping back in. If you stop tracking and you're like I have a bag of Terra sweet potato chips on that island. I can't open that bag. If I open that bag, it's gone. So I save it for Sunday dinners with the whole family where I can put it out as an appetizer and share it with people. I can't open that bag. I know that about myself, right? Can't do it. Otherwise, I'll be opening Carb Manager and saying, what are the numbers for an entire bag of Terra sweet potato chips? Can't do it, right? So you need to know these things about yourself. I know all these things about myself, right? I still have some trouble tracking, it's difficult to find, accurately measure everything I'm eating, and I feel like I end up eyeballing things. Any suggestions to ensure? Yeah, if you don't want to eyeball, get yourself a food scale. Get a good digital food scale. They're like $13 on Amazon, and it can measure ounces, it can measure pounds. The one I have measures up to 11 pounds, and you can get it in ounces, grams. That's the most accurate way, is to actually measure ounces and grams and then input, like if you put in grass-fed ground beef and you ate half a pound, you can switch the grass-fed ground beef in the app to 8 ounces or 0.5 pounds, and it'll adjust accurately. So, and again, you don't want to have to do this forever. It's a learning process, it's a training process. Do a little bit of measuring, so then you can eyeball some food and say, oh, that's what a half pound of grass-fed beef looks like. Or to open the 1 pound package from Kroger or whatever, throw it in the pan and kind of split it down the middle and take that much meat. Okay, that's a half pound. Like, you can just start learning things better, but it's all training. You have to train yourself to do these things. I think a lot of women, what's a great way to measure for... Mike, your comments confuse me, bro. I just did 10 minutes about how BMI is garbage nonsense, right? So no, that is not a good way to measure fat, BMI. You crack me up, man. I think a lot of us women have that mental attitude after all the things we've tried, and once we stop being militant, we went right back to zero. Zero meaning no results is what I'm assuming that you mean by zero. But again, it's the idea. Usually what happens is I'm doing a 30-day reset, and I see fitness influencers on Instagram do this all the time. Like, finished another round of Whole30, and it's a picture of a cheeseburger and fries, Whopper Jr., ice cream, cake, whatever, right? They're just like, yep, finished 30 days. Cheat day again, right? So that's what it always is. If you look at it like a lifestyle, it's completely different. If you look at it like finished another 30-day reset, now I can go back to what I want to do, what I really want to be doing, which is eating like a shithead, right? That's what most people want to do. I said that in the Life After Success episode, that for most people it's like, hit my goal, awesome. I'm my ideal body weight. I can go back to eating junk now, right? That's the thing. That's where you get tricky. So it's not a matter of, the reason you don't need to track, Jackie, when you reach your ideal weight, if you have different goals and you want to go further, you need to continue tracking, right? And we probably need to adjust things for a new goal. But the reason why you don't need to track is because now you know the right foods to eat. You have a general idea. Jackie, let's talk about music, right? So guys, I play dueling pianos. I easily know the words and music by memory, off the top of my head, to over 600 songs. You could shout out a song right now. I probably know how to play it, probably know how to sing it. 600 plus songs. I've done this for a living for 15 plus years, right? When I was in college, I was playing gigs. I've been playing gigs for a year, and I had songbooks. Songbooks A through J, songbook K through L, right? And I'd play at these restaurants, and someone would request Billy Joel, and I'd go, okay, flip through. Oh, there's Piano Man. Let me play Piano Man. I'd look at the words, or maybe look at some chord charts or whatever, or some lead sheets. And I finally had this teacher that was like, hey man, bring in your books. And I brought in my books, right? He took them from me, put them in his briefcase, and was like, bye. And I was like, dude, I have 3 gigs this weekend. Like, give me my books back. Like, that's not funny. And he was like, no, you don't get your books this weekend. Come back on Monday and we'll talk about how you did. I was like, what? He's like, remove the crutches. Remove the training wheels. Get out of here. Go play your 600 songs and don't look at these things. You know these songs better than you think you do. And I was like, okay. So I went and played gigs and I knew all the shit by heart. I had that crutch. I was just leaning on that crutch, leaning on those training wheels, right? If your goal isn't, hey, I want shredded abs, so we need to adjust your macros and have you start tracking again, right? If you're at your ideal body weight, you know what foods to eat. You know the difference. You know not to pick up a 300-gram sweet potato and scarf it down without thinking about it, how many net carbs are in it. You know better than this, right? You know what foods are free. Your leafy green vegetables are usually free. You don't even have to track those, It's that kind of stuff. You know this stuff. You know it better than you think you do, but I understand it's a little scary. Definitely a little scary. Like Sam said about being afraid not to track. Yes. Think about it. 1 meal once a week. It's a ton of weeks, a year, and all of a sudden, shitty way of eating. Yes, absolutely. I kind of get driven nuts by that, like the 80-20 thing, or like if there's 21 meals in a week, you can have 3 of those meals be complete shit. And I'm like, okay, maybe, but if you're gonna have 3 of those meals be complete shit, I'd rather it be a whole day, honestly. Then you at least have time between them. If you have a shitty meal on Sunday night, a shitty meal on Wednesday afternoon, and a shitty meal on Friday, your metabolism's not getting a break. It's just constantly having to clear out shit, right? So yeah, I agree with you 100%. It really drives me nuts that people do that. Just like, well, you can cheat every once in a while. And I'm like, okay, now you've had hundreds of meals throughout your year that were just garbage. You're just eating garbage on a regular basis, right? All right, how much time we got? Ooh, all right, let's check out some other stuff. Because this stuff is really important. And I'm gonna try to fly through it. I'm looking at my notes right now, lots of notes. Let's see if we can get through this. We're gonna go a little bit over tonight. So, for the skinny people, one of the common denominators you will find in most of the metabolic issues. And we've talked about this in other AMAs. Insulin. You're going to find insulin hidden somewhere in all of the physiological processes behind all metabolic disease. Insulin, now this word, insulin resistance is the driving force behind diabetes, heart disease, cancer, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, fatty liver disease, and Alzheimer's. Insulin resistance is also known as metabolic syndrome. So if you hear somebody saying metabolic syndrome, they're basically using the term insulin resistance and metabolic syndrome interchangeably, so just know that for future reference. Now, I want you guys to understand that we are seeing insulin resistance in individuals at the age of 6 months. We're seeing insulin resistance at 6 months old. These are usually formula-fed babies. Their caloric intake is completely restricted. It is it's precise, the exact amount of calories, right? So obviously the calories don't play a role in this. This is the moms who use being pregnant as an excuse to eat all the cake and ice cream that they want, and they're passing this shit on, the hormonal imbalances and the insulin resistance, to their infants, okay? But I digress, right? We're not talking about that right now. But what I'm saying is it is entirely possible for people of normal body weight to suffer from metabolic syndrome, from insulin resistance, right? In fact, there are certain subsets of people who can actually be obese and have normal blood sugar and insulin levels and never develop type 2 diabetes. Very rare, but it is something that can happen, right? There are also subsets of people who are normal body weight or even skinny that still develop type 2 diabetes. In fact, in America, we talked about that 30 million people, 10% of the population with type 2 diabetes, right? 1 out of 3 of those, I don't want to write the whole word, 1 out of 3 of these people with type 2 diabetes are undiagnosed. That's insane, right? So how can we have 1 out of 3 people with type 2 diabetes be undiagnosed? The reason is no one thinks to test them for it. When they find out they're type 2 diabetes, it's like they've just been hit out of left field. They're like, I have 6-pack abs. How the hell do I have type 2 diabetes? This is insane, right? So a lot of these cases go undiagnosed simply because the human being is lean, because they're skinny. They might be going to the doctor every day like, Doc, I can't sleep. I feel like shit. I have no memory focus. I have gout. I have arthritis. Like, I got all these issues, man. I just feel like crap. And the doctor's like, well, this person's a healthy body weight. We need to start giving them some pharmaceutical pills for energy or something. Here's some B12. They don't know what they're doing. They don't even think to test for this type 2 diabetes because you're dealing with a small individual. Looks can be deceiving, right? So that's a big, big problem. The reason for this undiagnosed cases of type 2 diabetes is simply appearance. Again, America's obsession with body weight screws us over, right? So something else that I want to talk about, I'm going to write it like this. NAFLD, that is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. We have an epidemic of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, okay? It's more and more common these days, and it's incredibly common in very lean individuals, okay? So non-alcoholic fatty liver disease can be classified as both the cause of and a symptom of, right? So let's do this. Cause of and symptom of, it's a vicious cycle. Cause of and symptom of insulin resistance or metabolic syndrome, right? It's insane. It's very confusing. But they're symptoms and causes of one another, right? It's estimated that as high as 30% of Americans now suffer from non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. That's insanity. Absolute insanity, right? Crazy. Now, the main causes, the main drivers of this that I want you guys to understand is inflammation and inflammatory foods. Sugar, grains, corn, industrial seed oils. All the things that I tell you to avoid on Clovis. I'm not just telling obese people to avoid these things. If I tell you something destroys your health at a cellular level, skinny or fat, that is the case, right? Now, they've also measured this in children. Ask me how I know this. In tube-fed babies, if you don't know Savannah's story, I have a 100% vegetative niece who is fed through a feeding tube, right? They have measured significant liver damage in tube-fed babies who are fed, you guessed it, industrial seed oils. What do I mean by that? Soy formula. These formulas where the number one ingredient are these hydrogenated industrial seed oils. I told you she was on something called KetoCal that had literally, it was partially hydrogenated soybean oil, it had canola oil, all these terrible oils, all these refined processed industrial seed oils. Poison, right? And they measure it in these tube-fed babies. They have significant liver damage. This stuff leads directly to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, right? But the single most significant cause of fatty liver disease in America is fructose from high fructose corn syrup. Now, I need to be clear about that because people always try to eat me alive on this fruit thing. They always want to fight with me about fruit. Always, always, always. The fruit, the fruit, the fruit. Fruit is good for kids. Fruit is this. Fruit is that. Shut up. Let's talk about things, right? Fructose is a massive driver of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which is a massive driver of insulin resistance, okay? So I want you to understand that. Hands down, the biggest villain here is high fructose corn syrup in these processed foods. Now, it's been shown in clinical studies that inflammation, again, is high fructose corn syrup. Inflammation almost always precedes type 2 diabetes. It's not just an obesity issue. It is an inflammation issue, okay? So if we talk about fructose, I'll give you an example. I have a really close friend, love her to death. She's a sweetheart. She's ripped to shreds, super physically fit, full-blown six-pack abs, right? Drinks Dr. Pepper like it is her job. Dr. Pepper all day, every day. Makes me really, really nervous. Makes me really nervous for her health and her future. But in her mind, this girl is gorgeous, right? She doesn't give a shit because she's just like, I'm hot. You know, I look fantastic in a bikini. I look great. She doesn't think about these things. She doesn't know what's going on a cellular level, and I cannot convince her otherwise no matter what I tell her, right? I'm terrified for her health and her future. So let's talk about what makes fructose so special. Fructose is literally a supervillain, okay? Let me see. So I need to replan how we do this, right? So we'll put IR as insulin resistance. So we talk about fructose. What makes fructose special? Fructose, oddly enough, doesn't have a giant impact on insulin or blood sugar levels. So for that reason, people think of fructose as low GI. They think of it as low glycemic index or low glycemic load, right? This is what they think because it doesn't have the same impact on insulin and blood sugar as other forms of sugar. But this is a wolf in sheep's clothing, I promise you. The difference between fructose and other sugars will literally kill you. Literally, okay? So here's why. It's metabolized exclusively in your liver. Now remember, we're talking again about non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So fructose is processed exclusively in the liver. It does not circulate in the bloodstream, and I want to be clear about this. The brain, muscles, and most other cells in the human body cannot directly use fructose for energy. This idea that you're eating fruit for energy is silly, right? It goes straight to the liver like a missile, and it is processed there. Now, fructose from whole foods, okay? Let's talk about whole foods, fruit. Let's talk about whole fruits. In the general population, generally speaking, it accounts for about 15 to 20 grams of fructose a day. That's not a scary number to me. It's a scary number if you're eating 300 grams of carbohydrates a day, but if you're Clovis or something, that's not a scary number to me, right? But this is probably not true of children. because every adult, at every time you turn around, is feeding a kid fruit because they think it's healthy, right? But I digress. Again, I'm not talking about kids right now. In the year 2000, the consumption of high fructose corn syrup peaked at about 73 grams per day, okay? So fruit, 15, 20 grams per day. High fructose corn syrup, what was that number? 73! 73 grams per day. At its peak, this is what Americans were drinking. 73 grams per day. That is over 18 teaspoons of straight fructose. Over 18 teaspoons of straight sugar per day. It's disgusting, right? Now, other forms of sugar, such as glucose, they can be dispersed throughout the entire body. They can be burned for energy in every single cell. All the cells can burn it up and use it directly for energy. Fructose has no such pathways. So it puts a tremendous amount of pressure on your liver. Excess fructose in the liver is converted directly into fat. LDL, most notably, VLDL. Fructose is the most lipogenic the most lipogenic sugar on earth. It is the most readily converted into fat, and it's converted into LDL and VLDL, the most dangerous forms of fat, okay? So I want you to understand, high levels of fructose, right? High levels of fructose, because of the stress in the liver, high levels of fructose lead directly to fatty liver disease, which plays a critical role in developing insulin resistance. Thus, excess fructose, namely from high fructose corn syrup, is basically the #1 driver in America of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Hence why we have a population where 30% of the population is suffering from this. It's insane. This is not new news. Clinical data as far back as 1980 shows excess fructose causing insulin resistance. Not new news. We haven't been told about it by the mainstream for 40 years, right? And this is why I always go crazy about kids. Let's talk about kids again. Parents love to say things like, well, my kid is lean and he plays sports. He's super active. So I give him bananas before his soccer games for energy. Now, they're not taking into consideration that by the time the soccer game happens, let's say it's 4:30 p.m., this kid has already drank 2 Gatorades. He's at a Capri Sun. He had strawberries and blueberries for breakfast. His school served him peaches in syrup at lunch, and he washed it down with a Mountain Dew. And now you're giving him 2 bananas before his game because he needs fructose for energy. Doesn't make any sense, people. 3 minutes of research online, and you can figure this out, right? It's crazy. So they're literally stacking this kid's risk of insulin resistance day over day after day after hour after, stacking the likelihood of insulin resistance and fatty liver disease. It's so bad. It's so sad that people don't realize these things. It drives me crazy, right? Now, this is crazy. Crazy statistics. In 2009, they did a study with healthy subjects. They took otherwise healthy subjects. They made 25% of daily calories, 25% of daily calories came from high fructose corn syrup, right? They used Kool-Aid in the study. Kool-Aid sweetened with high fructose corn syrup. 25% of daily calories. Now, if we're looking at 73 grams, 18 teaspoons, this is not far off for a lot of people. It's not absurd, right? Granted, it's higher than normal levels because they're trying to prove something, right? 25% of daily calories from high fructose corn syrup. What happened? They developed prediabetes in 8 weeks. 8 weeks pre-diabetic, otherwise healthy human beings. Insulin resistance. Do you want to know when the early stages of insulin resistance began? Day 6. Day 6. 25% of daily calories coming from high fructose corn syrup. So now think, even if you're giving your kid 5% daily calories from high fructose corn syrup, and you're doing this day after day after day, year after year after year, compounding, all of a sudden you got a 17-year-old with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and you're wondering what the hell happened. Think about that the next time your shithead soccer coach starts handing out Gatorades to your kids. Okay? Really, think about it. Tell him to call me if he wants to have a discussion about it. I promise you. All right, I'm not going there. Anyway, this kid stuff drives me nuts. Drives me absolutely insane, right? So here's what happened. All of these things, that I start pointing out and other people start pointing out, and the paleo people and the keto people, they start putting that out, right? So all of a sudden, in America, sugar is getting a really bad reputation, which means huge profit losses for big food companies. So what do the big food companies do? They expanded their efforts into Asian markets. They expanded their marketing efforts and put millions, if not billions of dollars into marketing high fructose corn syrup products to Asian markets. As a result, sugar consumption has gone up in Asia by about 5% year over year as sugar companies have refocused their marketing efforts there. So, as a result, since 2007, over 22 million Chinese people were newly diagnosed as type 2 diabetic. 22 million. That's the entire population of Australia. Since 2007. In 2013, 12% of Chinese adults had type 2 diabetes. In the year 1980, less than 1% of the population had that same type 2 diabetes disease. Which means, thanks to sugar companies, in a single generation, type 2 diabetes in China has risen by 1,160%. Staggering. Staggering. Thank the sugar companies, right? Now, what's shocking about this is that a huge number of Chinese individuals with type 2 diabetes are considered lean and at healthy body weights. That's another thing that drives me crazy when people talk, well, the Chinese eat white rice and then they're lean and blah, blah, blah. They're genetically lean people. Obesity has not been a real big thing in their history, right? So that's the thing, is now you have these lean people with this giant jump in type 2 diabetes. They're all dealing with insulin resistance leading to type 2 diabetes, fatty liver disease, all these things in lean individuals, right? So it's crazy, guys. It's just crazy. And this is one other thing I wanted to touch on is like my uncle. My uncle had a widowmaker heart attack. People who run marathons and things like that, they have that thickening of their arterial walls and all this. It really, really impacts their heart. They're at a much higher risk of cardiac episodes, right? But the other thing to think about here is exercise adds inflammation. Most of the time, these marathon runners, these endurance athletes, they're considered healthy people, and they're usually eating healthy whole grains and oatmeal and plenty of fruit and all these things, right? All these healthy carbohydrates. So the next thing you know, you have a skinny marathon runner drops dead of a heart attack, and all the loved ones are sitting there at the funeral going, what happened? He's so healthy. He was the picture of perfect human health. He's so skinny. He has ab muscles. He can run 20 miles a day. He dropped dead out of nowhere. What happened? If they would do an autopsy on this guy, they would see that all his friggin' arteries were covered in foam cells and plaque because of inflammation, high carbohydrates, high fructose diet, insulin resistance, fatty liver disease, all of these things. So, which brings me to the fact that metabolic disease does not give a shit how much you weigh. Metabolic disease does not care about your overall body weight, okay? If you are an obese individual, are you at a higher risk of metabolic diseases? Yes, of course. Are individuals with normal body weight still at tremendous risk if they have poor lifestyle factors? Yes, without a doubt, okay? So if you take an active role in your day-to-day nutrition and do even a mediocre job of researching optimal human health, you can vastly impact your risk of just about every disease known to Western society, all of these Western diseases, right? By the way, these Western diseases were unknown to the rest of the world until, like in the case of China, this Western diet started expanding into foreign territories. Now all of a sudden you see these Western diseases, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, all these things that are popping up in different areas of the globe as the Western diet permeates out into these other territories. It's really, really sad, right? The China example is really sad. So it does not matter if you're an athlete interested in more shredded six-pack abs, or if you're a morbidly obese individual trying to literally save yourself from premature death. Biochemistry is biochemistry. Of course, genetics play a role, but generally speaking, our cells are all working the same way. You do not get a free pass on nutrition and lifestyle simply because you are genetically lean. Not even close. It's like my friend with the Dr. Pepper. I talked to her about it and she's like, I don't have to lose any weight. I don't have to lose any weight, which brings me full circle back. I don't have to lose any weight. The only marker that we have for human health in the United States of America is how much you weigh. This is the reason for the epidemic of healthcare. This is the reason for the epidemic of poor health in our country. We are focused in the wrong place, everybody. We are focused in the wrong place. We need to get a handle on body composition. We need to get a handle on triglyceride levels. We need to get a handle on fatty liver disease, right? You could have fatty liver disease and have perfectly normal body composition. What the hell do we do then? How do we detect that, right? It gets crazy, guys. There's so much more than this body weight thing. And I'm trying to introduce you to what optimal human health is really all about, right? You could very well end up the 40-year-old in a casket after a heart attack with everyone standing around going, but they were so thin. They were so thin and healthy. Why, God? Why'd you take the skinny person, right? It's ridiculous. But you see a fat person in a casket and you're like, oh, they did it to themselves. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. It's just not the outward manifestation is not there. So these people don't get checked out. Now you have 1/3 of diabetics who are literally going undiagnosed. It's insanity, guys. It's insane, okay? So we absolutely, point up tonight, we absolutely must stop equating health with body weight. We need to completely evolve our thinking and outgrow the current dogmas of mainstream health and wellness. Sounds a little bit like learn, unlearn, relearn. That's all there is to it, everybody. Learn, unlearn, relearn. Relearn the way that human health works. Relearn what to be on the lookout for to judge your own optimal health and wellness, right? To the skinny people that you know and love, bring them to me. Bring them to Clovis. They do not get a free pass just because they have lean genetics, not even close. Oftentimes they can be at a higher risk because they don't have the outward warning signs. Clovis is optimal human health. Clovis is not a weight loss program. This is not a weight loss program. Understand, this is a program that gets you healthy at the deepest, most cellular level of your freaking physiology. And as a result, you might lose a few pounds. And I guarantee you that those pounds you lose are going to be body fat because I'm going to improve your body composition, not just your body weight. Stop thinking that body weight is the correct biomarker for optimal human health. It's not. That's the only thing I want you to take away from tonight. You need to understand how to really measure your own health and wellness, okay? How'd we do? 9:17. All right, let's take some live Q&A. Sorry, I'm bumping into things. I didn't lock the wheels on my stand-up desk. It's rolling around, everybody. All right, so I'm over on Facebook. Can I see the comments? Yep, thanks. Learn, unlearn, relearn. Let's see. We've been looking in all the wrong places. Yes, absolutely. Can I get that on a shirt? Biochemistry is biochemistry. Yeah, that's solid. The 180 formula can prevent what, Sam? What do you, sorry. Sometimes the comments pop up in real time, so I don't always know exactly what you're in reference to. The 180 formula can prevent, if you're talking about arteriosclerosis, the 180 formula cannot prevent that, no. Or you may be talking about endurance athletes. Most endurance athletes, the goal is not to train in the aerobic threshold zone. They get into that gray area of like 70, 80, 90% of their max heart rate, and they stay there, which is really, really bad for them. So let me know exactly what you're talking about, what is about the 180 formula. Yeah, soda is insanity. It's crazy, which, by the way, I've told you guys this before, that soda is the #1 food stamps purchase in the United States. We spend $8.4 billion a year in tax money on soda for food stamps, and that is a lack of education. We are not getting the education necessary into these places that are mostly using food stamps in the country. These people have no understanding of general nutrition, and it's a huge, huge failure of the entire system. It's crazy. All markets buy have all sugar, high fructose tasting. Yeah, it's nuts. It's crazy. I need you guys to autocorrect your comments. Can I just be honest? You drive me nuts over here. Say no to high fructose corn syrup. Yes, no to high fructose corn syrup. Absolutely. Angry. Love it. Not funny, but so true. Yes, absolutely. I do get angry. I get very angry. My mom loves fruit and can eat a medium watermelon in one sitting because it's mainly water. Yep, well, of course, everyone's going to say it's mainly water. Now, that is true. According to the volume, that's the reason why watermelon, glycemic index, glycemic load don't match up, because glycemic load takes into consideration all the carbohydrates in a serving. Two different things. So always look at glycemic load, in my opinion, over glycemic index. Take a look at how you're doing there, right? Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Yep, saw that one. What else we got? Oh, man, I can't scroll anymore. Why isn't it letting me see all the comments? Guys, I can't see all your comments. I'm really sorry. Tell us the overall toxicity of a PB&J. What are you talking about? Peanut butter is not on your approved foods list. Why would I even talk about that? It's loaded with lectins. Peanuts are a legume. Don't eat them. They're garbage. Garbage food. You don't need it. The thickening of the heart. No, the 180 formula is not going to necessarily undo the thickening of the heart. I don't think that we can make that claim at all. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to claim that. I'm going to say that out loud. I'd have to see clinical data that shows me that. But there is some degree of, I guess, disagreement. There's some degree of disagreement of how long that effect lasts. So I don't know that it would necessarily undo it, but I have heard the argument that the thickening of the heart muscles and all these things, the walls of the arteries and all this from extended endurance training, I have heard the argument that this goes away over time if you were to stop the ridiculous endurance training. If you have something that's showing, if there's clinical data showing that it's reversed by the 180 rule, I would love to see that. I can't say that off the top of my head. What else we got? So she said what I'm doing is unhealthy. I missed. Yeah, that's the other thing too. Sometimes you guys will leave an earlier comment and then respond to your old comment later. It's not letting me scroll up enough to see exactly what we're talking about here. So Kim, I'm not sure what you're saying. So she said what I'm doing is unhealthy. Whoever said what you're doing is unhealthy is wrong. Tell me their name and I will look in the camera and say, hey, so-and-so, you're wrong. What else we got? Showed up just in time. We're back to PB&J, okay. Just want to pop in and say hi, Mr. AMA. What's up, Krista? Marathon runners and their heart problems. Yes, not good. Because my guy loves them. Yeah, your guy's wrong. Sorry. Your guy's totally wrong. PB&J is about one of the worst foods I could possibly think of under the sun. Literally. Especially if you put it on whole grain bread, right? Terrible. Garbage. Tell him not to eat them. Not undo. I'm guessing wondering if it's a bad idea for me to try and run a marathon. Well, Sam, no, again, so let me be clear on this. I'm all for people having athletic goals. I would much rather see you do like a Tough Mudder that's like, 10.2 miles with a ton of obstacles and just awesome. Tough Mudder is amazing. Like, I loved the Tough Mudder that I did. I'd much rather see people do like even Warrior Dash. Warrior Dash is like a 5K with a bunch of obstacles. Way cooler than a marathon. I have zero desire to do a marathon. I'm not taking away from anyone who's done them. My dad has run like 6 marathons. Like, he's a monster. He qualifies for like all of the top marathons. He's like a total badass. Now, he doesn't do that anymore. He used to do that, and he has a long history of heart disease in his family, and he does not do endurance training whatsoever anymore. Cold turkey doesn't do it. He used to eat a bunch of healthy whole grains too, just like his older brother, who dropped of a widowmaker heart attack. He survived, thank God. He had the widowmaker in an ambulance. It's the only reason that he survived. It has an 80% mortality rate. It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, I will tell you this right now, Sam. There is absolutely nothing that I like about people running marathons. Nothing. There's nothing that I like about it. From a health perspective, there's just nothing that I like. If you have it on your bucket list, it's not going to kill you. It's not going to kill you at all. I would recommend aerobic training, 180 training, for the entire thing leading up to the marathon. Then maybe a few weeks before, like in the 4 weeks leading up to it, do a couple of 12-mile runs, still do aerobic threshold if you want to. Then don't even necessarily track your heart rate, just go out and do the marathon. You're going to survive. It's not going to kill you. I mean, I'm talking about endurance athletes. Like, these are people who train endurance athletes, like, over the long haul. So it's not going to kill you or anything. But yeah, so I don't like the idea of marathons. So I don't like the idea of triathlons either. Any of these endurance races, they're kind of silly, man. It's like, I don't know. I don't understand the draw. I don't understand, even from a physical perspective. Like, nothing that you do in triathlon training or like marathon training translates to any other area of life at all. Like, I'd rather see you enter a powerlifting competition. At least like what you learn there and what you can do with your body can translate into other areas of life. Endurance training only helps you in endurance training. That's it. So anyway, but if you want to do it, do it. It's a fantastic goal to have. Go out, set a goal, do it. call yourself a badass for doing it and be happy with it. Don't worry about it. It doesn't all have to be perfect, right? It's like PETA, MMA fighter, right? She's pro now. She's got all sorts of people knocking down her door, things I can't even talk about. That girl is so popular right now, right? Because of her last fight that she won. Her goals right now are not for health and longevity. Her goals are to be the best fighter in the world, period. Two different things. So you just have to think about what your deal is, what you're trying to do, what your goal is, right? Oh, Ninja Warrior would be amazing. I would love to do a Ninja Warrior. All right, what else we got? I only run if being chased, but give me a kettlebell, look out. Yeah, that's the thing. When I ran my Tough Mudder, I didn't do any running training. I did all my conditioning training with kettlebells and then went out and did it. Literally over a year leading up to my Tough Mudder, I had not run a single mile. Not one single mile. All my conditioning was done with kettlebells. So anyway, what else we got, guys? Any other questions you want to pipe in? Yeah, Jackie, that's awesome. If that's if your goal is to run a marathon, go run a marathon. Go run a marathon and don't worry about these consequences, none of that stuff. I mean, really, the big risk of heart disease and everything is in people who are like professional endurance athletes. You know, like I have a friend of mine who runs triathlons all the time. She wins triathlons like all the time. She's obsessed with it. She has a very high grain diet, very high fruit diet, all these things. She swears by it. She doesn't want to switch up her diet because she's winning all these races. I try to convince her that I can make her win way more races at a higher level if she would let me tweak her nutrition. But some people are superstitious about that stuff, right? Think about how fun it would be when I watched that Clovis Ninja Warrior team. Yeah. Oh, I meant Ninja Warrior. Yeah, Ninja Warrior would be incredible. I've been to a Ninja Warrior gym. It's ridiculously hard. It's so hard. It makes like gymnastics rings look ridiculous, like look easy. I have friends who run 100 miles at a time. Yeah, ultra endurance runners. I've run into a lot of those and chatted with them. Pretty crazy. But again, there are a lot of ultra endurance runners that do it fat adapted, which I'm all for. Like these guys literally do 100-mile runs keto adapted, or they'll load 150 grams, 300 grams of carbs like prior to a race or whatever, but they're in a ketogenic state the rest of the time. And they only need the sugar if they're going for beating a time, so they're running at a pace that's fast enough for the activity to become glycolytic. There's a lot to this, guys. I mean, there's so much sports science, it's not even funny, right? Like I could walk you through all the sports science, but that's what my specialty's in, right? Little things too, like when PETA went into her MMA fight, I brought her a jar of raw honey, and I gave her a tablespoon, 16 grams of straight sugar, like 45 minutes prior to her event, you know? That's the thing. And like Rob Wolf talks about this a lot. He actually takes glucose capsules. He's in ketosis most of the time. And then right before he goes and trains jujitsu, which can be extremely glycolytic, he might pop 1 5-gram capsule of glucose or 2 5-gram capsules, get 10 grams of fructose. 10 grams of glucose. Holy crap, 10 grams of sugar. He'll take it and then go train and he does better, right? But he comes out of it, he's still in ketosis. So there's a lot to this, guys. There's a lot of different levels here, right? It's really crazy. I don't care how healthy I get, I will never take up running. I don't blame you. I don't like running either. But I do understand the idea of really, really difficult, lofty goals. So like if a marathon was a goal of mine, you bet your ass I'd run a marathon. I wouldn't think about the health consequences at all. So let me put it that way. Sam, if I were in your shoes and I wanted to run a marathon, I would train and run a marathon. 100%. I might hate it. I might be icing my knees for the next 4 days after the marathon, but I'd be like, yep, said I was going to do it and did it. Like if somebody were like, hey man, I'll give $10,000 to this charity if you run a marathon 2 weeks from now, I would run a marathon. 100%. I'd run it. I would complete it. It'd be awesome. I'd feel terrible. And I'd be totally cool with it. You know, if I had a reason to do it, I would do it. If it was a goal of mine, I would do it. If it's a goal of yours, do it. I'll help you get there. But we should talk about nutrition. You're going to have to tweak a lot of things to do it right. Okay? All right. Thank you guys very much. Not too many comments coming in, so let's shut this thing down. It's getting late anyway. Ask Me Anything number 33. This is one for you to share with all of your skinny friends. All the skinny friends who just think they have nothing to worry about, right? That's what I needed to hear. Always been said. Yeah, Sam, if you want to do it, do it. Do it. Doesn't matter what I want you to do. Doesn't matter what anybody wants you to do. You're not going to die from it. I promise you. I think it's a great goal to have, and the fact that you've said it out loud in public, you should totally do it. You should film it. You should document it. You should document the process. We all want to see it. Do it. Kick some ass. I'll help you every step of the way. I promise you. Okay? So go do it. Have a big, scary goal and make that shit happen. That's what we're going to end on, guys. Have big, scary goals and make that shit happen. Okay? Ask Me Anything. Number 33, How Weight Loss Ruined everything. There is so much to this picture of optimized human health, and it goes so far beyond your freaking body weight and your BMI. Okay, guys? Think deeper, dig deeper, do your own research as always. Go out there, look up the stuff that I'm telling you, double check me, fact check me, all the things that you need to do, right? I want to learn and grow with you, give you the tools that you need to learn. Ask your own questions, do your own research. As always, Clovis.store. Jeez. Messy handwriting. Clovis.store. Get your skinny friends a custom nutrition plan. Buy them one as a gift and send it to them. But anyway, yeah. So skinny people, obese people, everybody in between, let's get people healthy. That's what we're trying to do. Change the world. I need your help to do it. Help me share this stuff. Signing off. My name is Justin Nault. Ask Me Anything number 33. How weight loss ruined everything. Thank you guys so much for being here. I love you. I appreciate everything. You rock. You're my favorite. Thanks. Awesome. Bye.